Hello everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to the channel. I am here today with my March 2020 book haul. So these are all of the books I picked up in the month of March. Now I know this is a very odd time for people, March 2020. So the month that coronavirus really took hold of America. And I'm in a state where we are on a lockdown or a stay home, stay safe order. And so fortunately, even though I've been working from home for the past 2.5 or so weeks and not really been able to shop for about that same amount of time, I was fortunate enough that I went out like the first week and the first weekend of the month of March before this really became a thing in our area, and I went a little crazy. So in the interest of trying to keep these as succinct as possible, I am splitting up my book haul yet again from my media pickups video, I guess I'm going to call the other one. So I do have a number of things that I picked up that way as well in terms of video games and movies, but this today is simply my book haul. Now, I will also say that this is not the entirety of everything I picked up in March in terms of books. If you are a subscriber to the channel, you may have seen my Star Trek book haul that I released, I don't know, a few weeks ago now. And that was a really awesome deal. I got 30 Star Trek books for $15. It was incredible. And so you can find that right here on the channel if you want to see those. But that is also books I picked up in the month of March. So I'm not going to show them again here today simply because there is another video that is dedicated to those. But do know that I have those as well. So if you want to see my full, not TBR, if you want to see my full pickup for the month, definitely check out the Star Trek video and this one. All right, so I have a good number to go through, so I probably won't be as succinct as I'm hoping because I never am. But either way, let's dive right in. I've mentioned Second & Charles on this channel multiple times now, especially during these book haul videos, because they have a bin outside their store, which is just fantastic. It is a free book bin. And so what happens is somebody will come to return a book, or trade in a book rather, and Second & Charles decides that they don't want to buy it, so that person can then take the book home and do whatever they want with it, or they can do the convenient option of just dropping it in the free book bin out front if they don't want it anymore, because it's probably not worth very much, which is why the store didn't want it. So you'll see a lot of really cool things here, and I do have about 6 or so books that I found from the free bin, and so I'm going to start with those because it's always cool finding free things. So the first one, this one doesn't have a slip cover, and you can see it has like rings from like your coffee cup or whatever, but this is called Metaphazic, and it's edited by John Scalzi. And so this is short stories. I believe they're science fiction short stories. You can see the names of them right there and the different authors. So this is unique in that this book was originally an audiobook, and then it was converted into in this case, a hardcover or a physical format. And so I don't know much about this. I know this is a series, so there are multiple short stories. I don't believe that they are linked at all. Because it's all different authors, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Again, this was from the free bin. It's Metaphazic, edited by John Scalzi. So that's my first free book I found. The next book I found was a series I actually started collecting very recently, which I'm annoyed at myself because I ended up selling the first book before I really started collecting books again, and then decided, well, I see these all over, I'm going to start doing it. So this is from the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, and this is Blood Noir. So I can't remember which book number this is, but it's not the next in line that I needed. I think it's a little bit later. I don't know why like the number 11 is standing out to me, but I don't know. It's somewhere in the Anita Blake series, and I now have a big gap between what I own, which is books 2 and 3, and this one, which is either 7 or 11, I think, but who cares, whatever. It's just part of that series. So Blood Noir, and this is another free one. Then there must have been a young adult reader that was trying to turn in some books and decided that they were going to leave them there because the bookstore didn't want them. And so the first one I have is The Upside of Unrequited. And this is by Becky Albertelli. And so this is the sequel, I guess, to the book Love, Simon, or is actually, the movie's called Love, Simon, but the book is called Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. And I read this book, the Simon Versus, and I ate it up. I really enjoyed it. It's not deep or anything like that. It was fun. It was enjoyable. Definitely aimed at a teenage audience, but I still enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun. And so this one, look at that. Look how big that spacing is on that font. Oh, so floppy. I mean, I love this. Anyway, these books this book rather is the sequel to that. So it was in the free bin, and I've read the first book in the series already, so why not? And the other one, there is Leah and the Offbeat, and I think that one is book 2 or book 3. I don't know exactly. I think this is book 2, but I could be wrong. Either way, I'm probably going to read this one just because I liked the first one so much. So, The Upside of Unrequited. Next up is a couple of John Green books. So we have one that I actually have heard of, and it's Let It Snow. I don't know anything about it, but it is 3 holiday romances, I guess. And this is actually by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle is probably how you say that. I don't know the others at all, but I know John Green, of course. And so, yeah, pick this one up for free, along with An Abundance of Catherines, which I never heard of before, but given the author, I figured I'd pick it up because why not? So, The Abundance of Catherine and Let It Snow by John Green. And then this also has Maureen Johnson and I'm going to say Lauren Miracle. That's a guess. And the last free book I found was the one I was most hyped up for because it is actually one of my favorite books I've ever read, and I only own it via audiobook until now, and I was able to find it for free. It's not in the best condition, but I don't care. It's absolutely readable, and that's really what matters most. This was my top book I read, my favorite book I read in, I believe it was 2018 when I first started doing audiobooks, and it is the very divisive Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. So I am obviously one that falls on the side that loves this book. There are plenty that hate it, and that's fine. I totally understand that. You don't have to love this book like I do. But I just fell for it from like the first chapter on. I was hooked. And there has not been a movie I've been more disappointed in than Ready Player One because it was just garbage compared to this book. So Ready Player One is fantastic. I'm sure you know what it's about already, so I won't waste your time with that. But if you've not read this one and kind of that nerd culture or the 80s culture calls to you at all, give it a shot. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. I happen to love it, so hopefully you will as well. But Ready Player One by Ernest Cline was the last free book I found in the month of March, and definitely the best free book I found in the month of March. March was such a weird month because it felt like it lasted forever, mostly because we were stuck inside for the vast majority of the month. And so because of that, it feels like I bought these books a year ago, not just a month ago. But anyway, this next stack is my Salvation Army stack. So these are the books I got from Salvation Army. So first up is Congo by Michael Crichton. So if you are following the channel, you know that I did Jurassic Park earlier this year, and I loved it, loved the book, loved the movie, of course, and I did a book versus movie on that. So check that out if you haven't seen it. But Congo, so a couple other books I don't have here and I wasn't planning to include, but I did take advantage of an Audible book sale that they were having, an audio book sale, and it was 2 for 1, buy 2 for 1 credit, or however you want to say it. So Congo was one of them, along with The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton. So I picked up both of those on audiobook, and I decided to grab this in physical form for 50 cents because now I have it both ways. Who cares? Why not? But anyway, Michael Crichton, Congo. The next Salvation Army find was a really cool one. It's The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn, or Gillian Flynn. I don't know how to say that. Everybody says it on BookTube all the time, and I still don't know how to say it. But I think it's Gillian, because it's a female author. And Gillian sounds more masculine to me, but I could be wrong. It doesn't matter either way. Mrs. Flynn wrote this tiny little book called The Grown Up. And this is, I don't really have any idea what it's about, but it was a book that has been recommended on BookTube multiple times. It is, I believe it's Books and Lala's favorite of Flynn's. And so I decided, because I found it for 50 cents, that I'd grab it. It's super short. Let's see, it's like less than 100 pages. It's like 62 pages. You can see how short it is. And the font isn't terribly small either, which you guys know I love that. So Gillian Flynn's, or Gillian Flynn's, The Grown Up. And it's a hardcover. So last month, I showed you guys some junior novelizations that I picked up. I grabbed the Star Wars junior novelizations, all the first 6. So Star Wars Episode 1 through Episode 6. From Second and Charles, and then I grabbed the Pirates of the Caribbean movies from 1 to 4, those junior novelizations. I found those at Salvation Army of all places. Well, another thing I found at Salvation Army is the junior novelization for The Secret Life of Pets. I have seen parts of this movie. I started watching it and then I ended up falling asleep, but what I saw was cute, and I'm on this novelization kick, whether it's junior or regular. Apparently, it's just my thing now. And so I decided I would grab this one, of course. So The Secret Life of Pets, the junior novelization. I didn't even realize this was a novelization until just now, but it is. And so that's awesome. And it's definitely in the junior form. So this is When Good Ghouls Go Bad. So this is credited to R.L. Stine. Now, my R.L. Stine experts out there, Chris, I'm talking to you. Was this really written by Stine? I have a hard time believing it. I feel like this might have been one that was ghost written, like some of his other things that have his name on it. But this one is, of course, it says down here, based on the Fox Family hit TV movie. So this is the novelization of When Good Ghouls Go Bad, written apparently, supposedly, by R.L. Stine. If it's not, if it's ghost written, please let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to find that out. But had to pick it up. It's got Stine's name on it. It's a novelization, which I said I just figured out. And it's like Christopher Lloyd's in the cover. What's not to love? I might as well stick with novelizations and show the last one that I found at that Salvation Army I was at. Oh man, I was so excited when I found this. I love this movie. So I remember going to see this movie with my friends in high school. My dad had to take us because we were underage and it was an R-rated film. But I loved it then. I've watched it again recently and I love this movie. It's just a good damn movie. And so of course, I happened to come across the novelization. I'm picking it up. So this is Panic Room, and this is written by James Ellison. Another, a fantastic author from what I hear. So why not? This should be a lot of fun. So Panic Room by James Ellison, another novelization to my novelization collection, which, spoiler, in a few minutes here, I'm going to be showing you a ton more of these fantastic novelizations that I've been picking up lately. Moving away from novelizations, but sticking with middle grade and with a book that was eventually adapted into a film, we have, written by Kate DiCamillo, show the cover, The Tale of Despero, being the story of a mouse, a princess, some soup, and a spool of thread. So I guess that's the full official title of this book. But this one, obviously, a lot of people are going to know this one. I've heard of it. I've never seen the film, and I've never read the book. So looks like a real cute one. This is another, it's not terribly long. In the pages, my favorite. Keep those words spaced, baby. Love it. So anyway, Tale of Despero. And all those other words that I added into the original title, which is just fantastic. So excited to get to this one. It should be pretty fun. Should be pretty easy to read. This was a really cool find because it's a newer book that I was able to find at Salvation Army. It is The Chain, written by Adrian McKinty. Hardcover. Gotta love it. So this one is one that I have heard about. Chris actually sent me a text message of the picture of it when he found it at Target a while back, or wherever he was, because he thought I would be interested. And he's right. It sounds really cool. So this is, I think it's like, these parents have their child get kidnapped, and basically they have to do something horrible in order to get their child back, and then that chain goes on. That could be wrong, but I think I remember that's what the story is about. So it sounds really interesting, and it was 50 cents, and it's a newer one. So definitely happy to find this one and adding it to the collection. The Chain, written by Adrian McKinty. So I've not posted my wrap-up video yet for March, but I will spoil it that I did finish my first Murder, She Wrote book, Gin and Daggers, and that was book number 1 from 1987, I believe. So I have like the first dozen or so Murder, She Wrote books, and when I was at Salvation Army, and at that point, I should say, I was planning on stopping. I'm just going to read those dozen, and then at least try to read those, see if I like them or not. And then once I finish those, then I could continue on. Well, if you run across something that you're collecting for 50 cents at a thrift store, I mean, I would have been an idiot to pass it up. You guys, I found 5 Murder, She Wrote books from this series. I am so excited. So these are all books that are like book 50 and beyond, I believe. So we have, and you can tell because some of these are written by Donald Bain and somebody else. So we'll talk about that as we go. We have Murder, She Wrote, Close Up on Murder, Aloha Betrayed, and Death of a Blue Blood. And those are all written by Donald Bain, and Jessica Fletcher, of course, because that's how that rolls. And then we have The Ghost and Mrs. Fletcher, and you can see it has another author's name here. This is Renee Pallibain, or Paley Bain, but that's his daughter. That is Donald Bain's daughter, who helped write some of his later books as he was getting up there in age, or just, I don't know. It was right before he passed away, either way. And so she started helping him. So we have The Ghost and Mrs. Fletcher that she did that with, and also Design for Murder, also with his daughter as a co-author. Eventually, the book series goes into another author entirely. I can't remember that author's name offhand, but at this point in the series, it's where it's transitioning into him and his daughter writing, and which is really cool. So 5 more books in the Murder, She Wrote series, which is just such an awesome find, and was so thrilled to see these there. So books, like I said, it's like books 50-ish and on of the Murder, She Wrote series. So those were all of my Salvation Army finds, which I paid 50 cents each for. And then now I'm moving on to my Second and Charles finds. And at one point, so Second and Charles has a clearance section, and this is where I found all those Star Trek books. But on Wednesday, the clearance books are buy one, get one free. All those Star Trek books were $1. The vast majority of the ones I'm about to show were also $1, but that's when I found out about the sale. I was there on a Saturday or a Sunday. I didn't realize the Wednesday thing until that point. And so these I just paid $1 for. Not all of these. A number of these I actually paid whatever the sticker price was, which they're used. So, $3 or less. But like I said, more than 70%, maybe 80% of these were from the dollar bin, the dollar clearance bin. So very cool finds. I just counted and I already forget, but I have a ridiculous stack of novelizations to show you that I'm going to save for the end because those are the ones I'm most excited about. But so, speaking of series that I was collecting before, I found another book in the Cat Who series, and this is The Cat Who Moved a Mountain. This one was not $1, but it was like $1.50 or $2 or something, so it was the only one they had in paperback at Second and Charles, so I figured I'd grab it. Why not? This is book number 13, I think. And so I need to grab book number 8 and 9, and then I'll have 1 through 13. So that's what I'll do eventually once stores start reopening again. So The Cat Who Moved Mountain, and like I said, I believe this is book number 13 of the Cat Who series. More from another series I was collecting. I showed last month I found all of these CSI books in my Salvation Army haul, and I needed book number 3, and then I would have like 1 through 9 or whatever it was. So the book number 3 I did pick up. I was able to find it at Second and Charles, and it's Cold Burn. So this is written by Max Allan Collins, one of my favorites, and I'm actually reading a Max Allan Collins book right now. But this is CSI Cold Burn, which is book number 3 in the CSI series. I mentioned earlier that I grabbed Congo in paperback, and I picked it up on Audible. And I totally forgot I picked up Andromeda Strain for $1 as well in paperback form, and I picked it up in that Audible sale. So I have it both ways now. So Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain. I've been finding a lot of Lois Duncan books lately, and this is another one. This is called The Third Eye. I apologize, I couldn't get this off. I can go at it with Gugon, but I just haven't taken the time to do it yet. So The Third Eye by Lois Duncan. This was a really cool find, and it is Amityville, the final chapter, with this awesome cover. And I believe, I was just looking, this is from 1985, and I believe this is an original printing from 85, which has a texture to it and everything. It's really cool. But this one is written by John G. Jones, and this is actually the third book in the Amityville horror trilogy. The first book was one I read a couple years ago, or maybe last year, I don't remember, but I really liked it. I don't necessarily believe that what is in there is true, and when you read more about it, it's clearly not true, but it's very fascinating, and it's told really, really really well, and so it's really creepy. So then they made a sequel. This John G. Jones made Amityville Horror 2, and then this is the Amityville, the final chapter. So this is book 3 of that series. Now I absolutely have to find Amityville 2 so I can read this one, because I really liked the first one, so I want to continue on in this series. So yeah, Amityville, the final chapter, really cool find. This one written by John G. Jones. John Saul is a very famous, very popular horror author. I've never read him, and I think I only owned one book prior to this, but this one sounded really interesting, and that cover looks really cool. This is The God Project. Just go ahead and take a look at that cover. It has to be the babysitter maybe, and then the creepy kid in the background in the door. Like, that's a stellar cover. So this one, let me see if I can find some publishing history on this. So this was originally released in hardcover in 82, and this looks like it is the original paperback from 83. So very cool looking book. one that I really want to read a John Saul book eventually, so I'll probably start with this one because it looks better than the other one I own, which I can't remember which one I own, but this one looks really cool. So, The God Project by John Saul. So if you've watched any of my previous hauls, you'll know that I've recently started finding some books in the Point Horror book series, which I believe began in like the late 80s, early 90s, and it actually went through to the 2000s if it's not still going today, which I didn't realize until I did some research. It stopped in like 2012, I think it was, and then picked up again. But anyway, so the Point Horror books, I actually found 3 this month, which is just ridiculous. So the first one is called The Promise by Robert Westall. You'll notice that it doesn't have the Point Horror logo up there, but it does here. So this one is probably from early 90s, I'm guessing. This was originally printed in 1990. So The Promise by Robert Westall. And then we have The Snow by Carolyn B. Cooney. You can see the Point Horror logo there. And this one was from 1990 as well, which makes sense. They have a very similar aesthetic. So does this one. I bet this is from 1990 as well. And this is 91, The Accident, written by Diane Ho. So as I mentioned before, my experience with the Point Horror series is, as I was a kid, I used to read some books in it without even really knowing it, and not knowing it at all, frankly. And then the Babysitter books are part of the Point Horror series. The Hitchhiker was one I read back when. That's part of the Point Horror series. That's an R.L. Stine book. And then, yeah, all these. But there's a bunch in that series. So I'm just going to keep picking them up as I come across them. There's no way I'm going to have a full collection because there's so many, but I'll grab them if I can, especially ones from like the early 90s. Those are the ones that interest me the most. So 3 books from the Point Horror series. We have The Promise, The Accident, and The Snow. The last 2, before I start getting into the novelizations, we have Robot Wars, written by Sigmund Bauer. We have book 1, which is Death Trap, and book 2, which is Double Cross. So I don't know anything about these. I was like browsing the middle grade section because I was trying to find book 2 in the Sixth Sense series, which I found last month, and couldn't find it. They didn't have it anywhere. I was hoping maybe it was misplaced when the last time I was there. So I literally went through like the entire middle grade section trying to find it, and it's not there. So anyway, I happened to stumble across these. From the side, they look pretty cool. And I thought at first either they were mangas or like graphic novels, but they're not. They're just novels. I think these would be middle grade more so than young adult, but I've read something that put them in the young adult category, so I don't know, but it sounds pretty cool. One of these had the dollar sticker on it, and I think it was book 2, and I was like, well, I want it, but I'm not going to buy book 2 without book 1, and so I ended up buying book 1 as well, which was only like, I don't know, $3 or $4, whatever it was, so I got both of them for pretty cheap, and this is not a super long book series, but this is not the whole thing, that's for sure. So book 1 and book 2 of the Robot War series. If you guys know anything about these, please let me know down in the comments below. All right, so enough playing around. Let's get to the main reason that everybody's here, and that's for the novelization stack of books that I have to show you now. And yes, I am kidding. I know that nobody cares about novelizations, but here we are. So first up, Max Allan Collins, as I mentioned, is one of my faves. He is super prolific, and he does a ton of novelizations. There's actually a couple I have in my Amazon cart right now that I really need to grab. But anyway, I was able to find 4 novelizations written by Max Allan Collins, which is just ridiculous. So first up, we have Wind Talkers. And so this is, of course, the movie that stars Nicolas Cage, directed by John Woo. Not seen it, but I'm hoping to after I read this. And then we have, actually, this was a cool one because I found the sequel to this, which is actually the prequel to the sequel of the movie. And this is the novelization of the first movie, G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra. So there's G.I. Joe, Rise of the Cobra, which is a novelization of the film of the same name. And then there was the sequel to this book, which is G.I. Joe, Above and Beyond. And that is a prequel novel to whatever the second G.I. Joe movie's called, which I don't know. I've never seen any of the G.I. Joe movies, but now I have the books, so that's cool. Another war book, we have Saving Private Ryan. Of course, an amazing film, and I'm really excited to read this book because it's probably going to add so much more backstory to it and just make it that much better of a story. So, Saving Private Ryan. And last but not least, from Max Allan Collins, The Scorpion King. So I showed last month I had like The Mummy Returns, I think, and now Scorpion King, so now I just need The Mummy. And then I think there's like a fourth book in the series, which is The Scorpion King, and then it has some subtitle, but I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, so Scorpion King, written by Max Allan Collins. And those are the 4 novelizations that I was able to find from Max Allan Collins, which is really cool. I'm an idiot. There's not 4, there's 5, because there's also American Gangster, which is written by Max Allan Collins. Again, apologize, I couldn't get the sticker off. It was being a pain. I have to get at it with Goo Gone, but I haven't yet. So anyway, American Gangster, Saving Private Ryan, G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra, Windtalkers, and Scorpion King. Those are the 5 books that I was able to find as novelizations from Max Allan Collins. This is one that, and like most of these, this was $1. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have grabbed it because I don't know the movie. But it stars Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones, so it's probably pretty good. But this is Blown Away, and this is written by Kirk Mitchell. So I don't know what the movie's about. I imagine that a lot of people probably do, but unfortunately, I just don't know. So Blown Away by Kirk Mitchell. And another one I would have passed on if not for $1, but it's Schwarzenegger's End of Days. And this is written by Frank Lauria. So End of Days by Frank Lauria, another one I have not seen the movie for. So I'll check out the novelization first and go from there. This was a really cool one, and this is one of the more higher rated novelizations I've ever seen on Goodreads. And this was written by Irving Shulman, and it is the novelization to the Broadway musical. Well, it's the movie, obviously, West Side Story. So West Side Story is a book that I have seen, and actually it does say the novelization of the Broadway musical West Side Story. So I wasn't lying. But anyway, West Side Story is a movie I've seen a number of times. I watched it a lot in high school because my choir teacher was big on the film, and it's a great movie. If you like musicals, obviously you have to like musicals in order to like it, but it's really well done. It's a wonderful story. So I really am interested to see what they do with this super short novelization. It's only like 160 or so pages. So West Side Story, novelization by Irving Shulman. How would I turn down a novelization of a WWE film? Starring, of course, John Cena. We have The Reunion, and another one with a sticker. So this one was written by Daniel Josephs, and you can actually see it has a WWE Books on the logo on the side, which is, who knew there was WWE Books? I mean, that's fantastic. So the Reunion, the John Cena starring Reunion, written by Daniel Josephs. Next up is a sci-fi film that is by a director I love, Terry Gilliam, and I've just not seen it for whatever reason. This is 12 Monkeys, and this novelization was written by Elizabeth Hand. And what's cool about this is there's actually some photos from the film on the inside, which is interesting, because usually these will come out before the film drops, and so you don't usually see things like that inside of them. At least I haven't. So 12 Monkeys, written by Elizabeth Hand. Another sci-fi film that I'm just like really surprised a novelization exists for this film. And this is written by Steve Perry. It is the novelization for Men in Black, which I don't know. It's like, why? Why do some of these novelizations exist? I can't wait to read them to tell you why they exist, or at least give you my interpretation of why they exist. So Men in Black, written by Steve Perry. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this one, but I've actually never seen this film either, and it is a action classic. It is written by Peter Barsconi, and it is Mission Impossible. Of course, this is a very famous film franchise. I've never seen a single film in this franchise, but hey, now I have the novelization, so at least I can read it, right? And that counts for something, I think. I now own the novelization for not one, but 2 Superman films. The first one is Superman Returns, and this one is written by Marv Wolfman, another one with the stickers I couldn't get off, and another one, Man of Steel. And this one is written by, you have to go to the inside to find it, by Greg Cox. So Man of Steel and Superman Returns. I've actually never seen Superman Returns, believe it or not. Man of Steel, I love this movie. I know it gets a ton of hate, but I think it's fantastic. So I'm interested to read these because they are both really chunky novelizations, like surprisingly so. Like over 300, each of them are over 300 pages, which is crazy. I know they're long movies, but so it'll be interesting once I get to read one of these. One of the biggest names in the novelization world has to be Alan Dean Foster. He wrote the novelization for not only Star Wars, which if you haven't seen is on my what month is it? April TBR, but he also wrote the novelization for the Alien movies, amongst others. So I was able to find Alien 3 by Alan Dean Foster, which is awesome. I have to get the first two now. It's impossible to find Alien in stores. I've never been able to see the first one in stores. Much like Batman Begins. I don't know why that's so hard to find in stores. I just haven't seen it. But anyway, the other one is Transformers, which I was just tweeting about this the other day because it came on after something else I was watching. And it's just such a fun film. I love this movie. I'm a huge Shia LaBeouf fan, though, which I know probably is going to get me a ton of flack, like some of the other things I've been saying in this video. But I love Shia LaBeouf, and he's so great in this. And of course, Megan Fox is wonderful as well. So anyway, I'm definitely going to check these out. Transformers by Alan Dean Foster and Alien 3 by Alan Dean Foster. Two that should be really, really good, given the history, or the reputation, I should say, of the author. And last, but certainly not least, from my favorite, one of my absolute favorite film franchises of all time, we have the novelization written by Alex Irvine of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I was super thrilled to see this one in the dollar bin of all places, which is just crazy. So Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, as I've mentioned before, Planet of the Apes, that's the original ones. Planet of the Apes is one of my absolute favorite series of all time. I love the originals. I've not actually watched the last film in this franchise, so I need to catch up on that. But Dawn of the Planet of the Apes I really enjoyed, so I love this series so much, and so I really want to collect all of them in the all the novelizations as well, because I just want to keep up, which I have, I think, now all of the originals. I just need to collect the reboot series, I guess is what you call it. So Dawn of the Planet of the Apes novelization written by Alex Irvine. That's going to be the last novelization. So that is 17, if I'm right. I have some over there still, but 17 novelizations that I found. This isn't all of them. There's 2 more over here. Can I get them? 4 more, I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. They can't all fit anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, 17 novelizations I was able to find in the month of March. Just awesome and crazy. All right, so that is going to do it. I thought I was going to be succinct. Of course I wasn't, because it's me and I just can't stop talking, but I hope you guys enjoyed this either way. If you did enjoy this video, please consider subscribing to Cinefessions here on YouTube, and if not, thank you anyway for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch even just a few minutes of this video. If you guys have any recommendations on where I should start with these books, please leave those comments down below. I'd love to get some recs from you guys on where to start diving into this series, or into these books here, so please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that everyone is staying safe and staying healthy during these troubling times, and I hope that you're all soaking up as much entertainment to keep your mind off it as humanly possible. All right, guys. Again, I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.